I've decided to put together a series of videos, kind of like giving you more of a background to Clara James Tutoring. I mean, at the minute I do videos on what we do each day, my thoughts on various things, etc. But this is more specific to who we are, why we do things the way we do, etc. And my thoughts are, if you're interested in becoming a franchisee, it will give you a better idea on our background, our ethos, our mission statement, and everything kind of like Clara James Tutoring. Is it something that you want to become involved with? If you're thinking about starting your own independent tutoring business, hopefully along the way you'll pick up some ideas, some tips that you can incorporate into your own business. So I thought probably the best place to start is to give you the background of the company. Basically, back in 2012, February 2012, um, I wrote my first profile. Prior to that, I had been working in early years settings. I'd worked with children with autism that couldn't cope in mainstream schools. First, initially as a residential childcare officer, and then in an autism base locally. I'd worked as an MVQ assessor. I'd worked in kind of like numerous different settings, and life took a change of direction. And I just at the time I'd been working as a I'd built a childminding business because it worked with three young children still at primary school. It worked, and basically life took a change of direction. And I thought, right, that's never working with children again, never going to own my own business again. I'm going to have a complete change in direction. So I took a job in a local opticians, and within probably a week, a month, I decided that actually that wasn't the life for me. Working with children gave you creativity, it gave you flexibility, it gave you everything that working in a shop or an office didn't. And my thoughts then kind of turned, and I thought, well, if I was to go back to college and sit the petals course, it would mean that I'd been working as a MVQ assessor, kind of like assisting adults in getting their qualifications to manage an early year setting. And I thought, but it didn't. The hours didn't work with children at primary school. So that was one of the reasons why I started the childminding business. So going off on a tangent, but to give things kind of like context. So I thought if I went back to college, did the course so that I could teach adults in an classroom situation, it would mean I could go back to an MVQ assessing type of job that I'd enjoyed, but it would give me kind of like fixed hours in a specific base. So I wouldn't be kind of like 30 miles away needing to get back to collect my kids from school in kind of like 10, 15 minutes, which obviously wasn't feasible, but it was what was happening an awful lot. So I enrolled on the course, started the course, made friends with this lady, and we would often sit and chat. And one week she kind of says to me, "Oh, you ought to have a go at tutoring." No, I don't think so. She goes, "Oh, I think you'd really enjoy it. It's this, it's that, it's everything else." And I'm a people pleaser, I admit that. And after a couple of weeks, in order to try and rather than upset her and say, I honestly don't want to work with children again, I don't want to own my own business again, I'm doing this course because this is what I want to do. I go, okay, I'll give it a go, with the thought that if I could earn just enough money to pay for the kids a summer holiday each year or to pay for their school trips or whatever it was, then yeah, it would be fine. And so I decided that I'd give it a go. And in February 2012, I sat and wrote my first profile, and like I said, okay, this is my background. I've worked with children who have a variety of different learning styles. I've worked in early years settings. I've got three children of my own, and they're all completely different. I said I've done my degree in childcare and education, and I've got an interest in dyslexia and other learning, different learning styles, etc. And I presumed because of my background that education must have moved on, because everything I was experiencing kind of in early years and in the autism base and stuff was that things were much more holistic. We didn't any longer just rely on worksheets. So, and something I'd learned along the way as well was that if we just keep giving our child what a worksheet to do, we can helping them create a memory. If we keep giving them more worksheets to do, all we're doing is making that memory stronger. So when they're sat in the classroom and the teacher kind of goes, right, what's the answer to that? Or you're sat in an exam and your brain's going, panic, or you just have a brain that doesn't think in a linear fashion, the odds of them finding that one piece of information were minimal. So if we can help them to create multiple different memories, we're making it easier for them to recall the information when needed. And furthermore, it's also meant that hopefully by making the lessons more varied, we would also make it more engaging. And if they're engaging, the children would hopefully want to participate. The more they participate, the better they get, the more confident they become, the more willing they are to participate. And it becomes a positive spiral. And so that was kind of like what I wrote down in my first profile. And then I thought, right, okay, submit, don't tell anyone you've done it. And then that way, if no one ever gets in touch, no, and it never comes to anything, no one's ever going to know that you've failed. So that was my thoughts. And then a couple of weeks later, I got my first parent got in touch. And then a couple of weeks after, someone else got in touch. And slowly, because we weren't doing things the way that a lot of tutors do things, we were kind of like using a variety of different resources. We were tailor making the lessons to the individual. We were doing this, we were doing that, we were doing other things, which I at the time thought was normal. The business started to snowball. So the original business was basically founded upon my experience from kind of like the previous years working in early years and with children with different learning styles. And in addition, a friend and I sat down and kind of said, okay, if we wanted a tutor for our own children, what would we expect? And it was a combination of those two things, right, merged together that gave me the foundations of the business. It wasn't a kind of like profit and loss. It wasn't a how am I going to make the most, how am I going to kind of like grow a business with a exit plan? How am I going to get the most money? This is what I need to earn each year. How am I going to achieve that? It was personal. It was, this is my experience. This is what I believe. This is how I will support your children. And basically, it's from that perspective that over the last 11 years, the business has grown and grown and grown, and it is what it is today. So I guess from that, what I'm saying is this is who we are. If you want to come on board and kind of like join Clara James Tutoring, that's our ethos. That was what you would need to work with. But if you're starting your own independent tutoring business, what's your beliefs? What's your background? Why do you want to support people the way that you're planning on? Know your why, because then when people get in touch, it'll be so much easier to kind of like talk to them and explain why you do things the way you do things, why you do things the way you do, etc. You won't be just kind of like waffling like I do, but you won't be just kind of like making it up as you go along, because you will be passionate about what you do and the way you do it. So yeah, that's where we started from back in February 2012.